In this video, I will demonstrate how to replace a rim on a bicycle wheel. The whole video is divided into segments so that it is easier to follow, and all the repetitive tasks will only be shown once, and the rest will be cut out of the video in order to make it shorter, just showing the principle how it is done. This tubular type tire rim will be replaced instead of this clincher type rim. And the first thing to do is to lubricate all the nipples so they don't damage both the nipples and their interface to the rim. It will be done around the whole wheel. I will just show a few how it is done, but it is done around the whole rim. Then we can get on with unscrewing the nipples. Having lubricated all the nipples around the whole rim, I can now start unscrewing them and loosening the whole wheel's tension. This is done in several iterations. First, all the nipples will be loosened by half a turn, then by one full turn, and finally by several turns each until all the tension is taken out of all the spokes. This needs to be done gradually because if loosening only a few spokes by a large amount, there can be a vast disbalance spoke tension, and the rim might become untrue or start to twist. So I want to keep it all gradual and take it slowly. An important reference point is the valve hole. Everything starts at the valve hole and the whole circle is finished once the valve hole is reached again. That is good for having some sort of reference, and it is important to have a reference to know exactly how much has been done already. I will not show untwisting all the nipples. I will cut it out of the video, but the principle is clearly explained and demonstrated here. An important thing when replacing a rim on a wheel is that both rims have the same effective rim diameter. What that exactly is will be explained in detail on my website BikeGremlin.com, but generally it means that the spoke lengths are the same for both the rims. If that is not the case, then the spokes will not fit the new rim, so there will be a problem when placing it and when truing it. Rim manufacturers usually note the effective rim diameter or ERD, but it can also be measured if it is not given. Spoke hole numbers should also match, of course. In this phase, this is my second go around the whole rim. I am unscrewing all the nipples by one whole turn, having first unscrewed them by half a turn and decreased the wheel's tension significantly. After this is done, in a third go, I will be able to unscrew them by several turns and make the whole rim and the whole wheel completely loose and spokes without tension, so they can be replaced and moved on to the next rim, and so that the rim can be replaced. As can be seen from my other videos about bicycle truing and anything that involves spokes and wheel building, these things are best done in several smaller iterations without making some vast significant changes in one go. This is important because that allows both for the wheel to remain as true as possible during the whole process, and because it allows correction of any mistakes or misalignment that could happen during the process. It is easier when it is by a small amount of error and when it is noticed early on in the process, and when it is brought to the proper way through several iterations. This of course is more important when building and truing wheels, but it also goes for most other things involving spokes, nipples and building wheels. Now all the spokes are relatively loose and I can continue untwisting all the nipples and loosening all the spokes by several turns of a spoke key. These are now a larger amounts of untwist. When doing this for one whole turn, spokes will be loose enough so that an ordinary screwdriver can be used from the opposite side, from the back side of the wheel, and that makes even quicker and easier way to unscrew the nipples. It's just important to make sure that it is not done by too much so that the nipples don't fall out. One can fully unlace the whole wheel when replacing a rim and then lace all the spokes onto the new rim, but doing it this way, as I will demonstrate, is a lot quicker and easier because there is no need to lace the wheel again or to pay attention to where the spokes are on the hub, which were on the outside, which were on the left, right side. They all remain as they were, just getting switched to the new rim. This will be now shown in several minutes on this video, how they are unscrewed with a screwdriver. Once the nipples when the spokes get very loose, they can even be untwisted by hand. I don't like using gloves, but using gloves is a bit easier. But if doing a lot of wheels, you can get blisters, so using tools is usually a better, preferred way of doing it. Now it is time to, after the wheel is very loose, all the spokes are very loose, it is flimsy, and it is time to replace the rim. First, I will make sure it shows in the video. I will put this other rim into a starting position, line all the spokes and spoke holes of one rim with ones on the other rim so that the spokes can be replaced. Both these rims have asymmetrical holes for spokes, which means that the left and right hand spoke holes are moved a bit sideways, so that is also something to consider. Another thing that here has happened is that on the original rim, as I will show now, the valve hole is between two spokes that are crossed. This is very impractical when one needs to inflate a tire. So when replacing this rim, I will also move it. I will effectively rotate the valve hole around the hub in order to make it align with two spokes that are parallel and going away from each other, so that the tire can be, not a tire, but a pump can be easily mounted onto the valve. Also, I will make sure that the producer's make on the hub is aligned with the valve hole. That is not that important, but it shows some attention to detail, and I like to do it that way when lacing wheels. So when replacing this rim, I will also make sure that all those things are matched, and then I will orient it that way. First thing to do after I've oriented it as I wanted, making sure again that all the holes for the spokes are aligned, is to use some paper tape to glue practically both rims to each other so they don't move around while I'm moving all the spokes and nipples and relacing the hub onto the new rim. This is paper tape bought in stores for painting. It's very cheap, easily to put, easily to cut once you're finished using it, and it's very practical. Okay, now that the rims are taped together, I can start moving all the spokes from the old rim onto the new rim. I will demonstrate how this is done. First, from this side, I'll orient the wheel so that it can be seen. Now I will need to completely unscrew one nipple, remove spoke from one wheel, put it into the next wheel, the new rim, sorry, not the wheel, and screw the nipple by a few turns so that it doesn't drop out. I will not tighten it. I will also lubricate the nipples using this low viscosity, very thin oil, so that when the nipple is put onto the new rim, it will also lubricate the interface of the nipple to the rim, so that it moves when I'm next phase of truing the wheel. It turns nicely freely, and it will also lubricate the threads of the spokes where they enter the nipple. I will put it back into the truing stand so that it can be easily seen what I'm doing, even though this is probably easier done by placing the whole wheel onto one's lap and doing it while seated. For this procedure I have improvised a tool. I will show it now. This is practically one nipple that is inch tightened so it doesn't turn, using some wire cutters onto one old spoke, and the rest of the spoke is twisted to make it like some small handle, and it is also some tape is turned around it to make it softer so it doesn't make blisters onto one's hands when doing. And what I will do now is to screw the tool into the into the nipple, so that it is screwed onto the tool, then completely unscrew the nipple and replace the spoke into the new hole, into the new rim, and screw it back in. There it is, just by a few turns. Just as soon as it is locked onto the tool, then I turn it all the way out. There it is. I will put it in dip it into the oil to lubricate it all. And now I'll put it into the next hole, moving also the spoke. There it is seen from this side. I'm just gently moving the spoke, making sure not to bend it sharply so it doesn't become twisted, and making sure not to scratch. From this angle it is better seen. There I'm just gently moving it onto the next rim. When all the spokes are loose, this is easily done, so when I'm turning the nipple onto the new rim, I'm making sure also not to do it by too many turns, just 1 or 2 turns, sure it doesn't drop off. And I'm going on to the next nipple and spoke, and this is done around the whole wheel. It is a straightforward process, one cannot do any wrong. Here just doing one at a time, placing into the adjacent hole of the new rim that is taped to the old one, so one cannot make mistakes there. This is the easiest way to do it. Here I am continuing with moving all the spokes onto the new rim. It is, like I said, important to make sure that spoke is not bent so that it stays bent. It's just gently moved onto the new rim, making sure not to scratch any rims when replacing the spokes, especially not the new rim. This is a bit more difficult to do with deep section double-walled rims. Sometimes it can be a bit more tricky, but it usually can be done, and it usually is the easiest way to replace a rim on a wheel. A lot simpler compared to fully unlacing the wheel and relacing, making sure that all the spokes that were on the outer right hand side are used on the side side, and so on. Now I'm finishing up moving all the spokes onto the new rim. This is the last or second last spoke. After I have done this, I will lubricate once again all the nipples and all the threads of the spokes that is sticking out, that is not inside a nipple, in order to make truing the wheel easier, so that both the nipple to the rim interface doesn't get damaged when tension gets higher, and so that the spokes don't twist while I'm truing the wheel. I'm lubricating around the whole wheel. After that I will remove the tape and put the old rim away and continue with truing wheel. It is demonstrated in a separate video about wheel truing, and it is usually the same procedure for practically all the wheels, explained nicely there in a bit longer video. And that is about it. Thank you for watching. Put any comments or questions you have in the comment section of this video or on my website bikegremlin.com.